How a black millionaire helped a homeless man while Elon Musk and Donald Trump watched. It all started on a night drenched in rain. The city was slick, shiny like glass under the storm. Every street lamp a trembling star caught in puddles. Lightning cracked like a whip overhead, tearing the sky apart. And for a moment, the whole world held its breath. Then, bam! A man appeared, sharp in a suit that screamed money. Michael. A name, a face, a game everyone wanted to— Not the usual political fireworks or tech showmanship. This was real life, hitting the streets hard. Michael's eyes caught the figure first. A black homeless man, shivering beneath a soaked blanket on the cold concrete. Everyone else looked away, pretending not to see. The giant city felt cruel and shallow. Yet, something shifted. Michael knelt, the expensive shoes slipping on wet pavement, reaching into his coat. Money fell out, not tossed, but placed with care. A gesture so small, yet so loud it echoed through the crowd's stunned whispers. And then, a woman showed up. Ava. She moved through the mist like a shadow, loose curls framing a face full of stories. ... Her eyes held a strange spark, pain mixed with something unbreakable, like a flame nobody could snuff out. She jumped into the arms of a stranger, a connection so sudden and fierce it knocked the breath from Michael's chest. The man holding her barely flinched, steady as a rock. But Michael saw it all, the wild, fierce grip, the sudden surrender. For a brief moment, the cold city around them softened. The rain slowed to a hush. And the puddles reflected not just wet stones, but the chaos pounding inside Michael's own heart. He'd spent years spinning gold from deals, rubbing elbows with the rich and famous. Yet inside, everything felt broken, empty. Watching Ava ignite that strange, dangerous bond made him feel a lump rise in his throat, tightening his chest like a fist. Who was she? What secrets clung to her like shadows after a storm? Something about Ava pulled him in deeper than any business deal ever had. His pulse quickened, curiosity mixed with dread. He'd never let anyone close, but this woman, she was a storm breaker, a mystery wrapped in midnight. As Michael stepped toward the strangers, the crowd parted silently. Whispers rolled like thunder. Who is she? What's her story? That woman, she's trouble. But trouble wasn't something Michael could shy away from anymore. Not when the night had cracked open, revealing a path he never saw coming. What dark ties linked their pasts? And if he dared to step into the storm with Ava, would he survive the secrets waiting beneath the rain? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important warning. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube removed their subscriptions without notice. Take a quick look at the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I don't want you to miss any exclusive content that's coming. And since you're here, drop a powerful like that really helps me with the algorithm. Oh, and let me know in the comments, what city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's interact. Michael took a deep breath, the crowd on the edge of their collective seats. He could feel that electric pull towards Ava like a magnet, her presence stirring something deep within him. He stepped forward, ready to bridge the distance, when suddenly a loud crash shattered the night. Glass exploded as a car slammed against a lamppost just feet away, the sound echoing like an explosion. People screamed and scattered, and in the chaos, Michael's heart raced. He instinctively jerked back, searching for the source of the commotion, his pulse pounding against his skin. Darkness fell heavier than the rain as anxiety wrapped around him like a vice. But then, there she was, Ava, darting towards the wreckage. "No!" Michael shouted, the word tearing from his throat. He couldn't miss her in the fracas, her silhouette moving on pure instinct. He rushed after her, his expensive suit soaking through, the cold cutting against his skin. Thunder rolled overhead, but it was the panic shouts of the crowd that drowned out everything else. Ava reached the car, the twisted metal crumpled and smoking. A figure, a man, lay inside, blood painting the shattered glass like a cruel masterpiece. Michael's stomach dropped. This was no accident. It felt deliberate. His instincts screamed for him to turn back, but he couldn't let her face this alone. "Get back!" Ava yelled, flinging open the door. She struggled to pull the man from the wreckage. The people around them were frozen, some filming, others gaping, their faces awash in concern mixed with dread. The sirens wailed in the distance, but they felt like a lifetime away. The driver was a young black man, fear etched into his features. Ava's hands trembled as they clasped his arms. "Stay with me, stay focused." And then, like a cruel taunt from the universe, the man spoke, his voice hoarse yet powerful. "Ava, you shouldn't have come back to this place. Not now." Michael's heart sank. He recognized the name. It was whispered among the rich and connected. This was Daniel, a once prominent socialite, now shunned. Rumored to have ties to underground dealings, dangerous liaisons. "What do you mean? Huh?" Ava's voice was sharp, cutting through the haze. But just as Daniel opened his mouth to respond, there was a sudden flash of red and blue lights. Police cars swarmed the area like hornets. Officers spilled out, their tension palpable. The crowd murmured, confusion and shock rippling through them like an electric shock. Was it an accident? A crime? Everything faltered, heartbeats lost in the thunder, as Ava pulled Daniel closer, desperation in her voice. "They can't take you from me again!" But Michael felt the ground shift beneath his feet, the weight of reality crashing down. His eyes darted to Daniel, then back to Ava, who had become a tempest of emotion. What was he to her? The shadows were peeling back, revealing a connection that cut deeper than mere chance. Then the unthinkable happened. A shot rang out, a deafening sound that pierced the hearts of everyone present. Ava fell to the ground, a crimson bloom spreading across her shirt. Silence enveloped them, thick and suffocating. Michael staggered back, his world spinning as he knelt beside her. "No, Ava, please!" His hands trembled as he tried to hold her, pressing against the wound, but time slipped away like the rain down the street. Everything he thought he knew was crumbling, truth floating away on the winds of chaos. The once polished image of success felt hollow, replaced by the rawness of pain. Shadows of secrets loomed larger now. the night turning into a nightmare. And amidst the turmoil, his own heart whispered a dreadful question. Was he a savior, or merely an observer in a story written by fate? The siren screamed louder as life hung on a razor's edge, and all he could do was hope. Hope that the storm would pass. As Michael stepped toward Ava, curiosity clawing at his insides, the world around them faded like an out-of-focus dream. The air pulsed heavy, wild with energy. And then, an explosion. A sudden roar shattered the night. A car, covered in rain-slick grime, raced toward them, tires screeching like a banshee unleashed. ... Panic gripped Michael. Time slowed to a heartbeat's rhythm. People screamed, voices merging into one chaotic cry. He lunged, arms extending toward Ava. But the rush of water blurred everything. The car veered, headlights slicing through the storm like blades. And then, thud! The sound struck like a gut punch. The homeless man, the one everyone had ignored, had jumped in front of Ava in a desperate act, shoving her away just in time. There was no grace, no grand gesture, just raw instinct. The impact sent him tumbling against the pavement. Limbs sprawled in grotesque angles. Blood pooling under him, bright against the dark concrete. Michael's heart stopped. The world ceased to exist except for the man crumpled on the ground. The crowd recoiled, eyes wide, horror etched into every face. Michael felt the icy grip of disbelief, shame, and guilt coiling around him. Time unfurled in an agonizing stretch, every second heavy as lead. "Call an ambulance!" someone shouted, voice cracking through the chaos. But Michael felt hollow, paralyzed. His gaze flickered to Ava, who was kneeling beside the man, cradling his head. Her fingers trembling against the rain-soaked hair. Tears rolled down her cheeks, mingling with the rain. And for a terrifying moment, he thought he saw recognition flash in her eyes. "Please, hang on. Please," she whispered, desperation thickening her voice. "Who the hell is he?" Michael rasped, the weight of her stare pulling him deeper into an abyss of uncertainty. "A friend," Ava choked out, panic igniting her answers. She looked away, breath hitching, a fire of pain sparking in her eyes. Every word felt like thunderclaps rolling over the crowd, drawing their collective breath into a tense silence. He was no longer just a stranger. This man had meaning, had ties he couldn't yet grasp. Michael's thoughts spiraled. In the distance, sirens wailed, growing louder, a haunting soundtrack to the scene unfolding. But something else flickered at the back of his mind. A dark memory pulled him further into the storm. A sense of déjà vu washed over him, heart racing. He remembered the man's face, the familiar lines that etched his features amidst the chaos. Could it be? Suddenly, the crowd gasped. A figure broke through, a woman in a long coat that swirled around her like a tempest. She locked eyes with Michael, her expression a mixture of shock and horror. "Michael, you need to get out of here!" she yelled. Urgency lacing her words as if she held knowledge that could shatter his world further. "What do you mean?" he croaked out, dread pooling in his stomach. But then, out of nowhere, the man coughed, a raw, wet sound that echoed like the grave. Ava leaned closer, whispering desperately into his ear. And that's when it happened. He opened his eyes, just for a moment, and everything changed. "I know you," he rasped, voice barely above a whisper. Michael's heart drucked, blood rushing to his ears as the truth barreled toward him like a freight train. What had he been blind to all along? Suddenly, the ground felt unsteady beneath him, the storm raging louder as everything inside him twisted in fright. Who was this man, and what had he just revealed? The stories, the ties, the buried secrets. The city felt alive with them, waiting to erupt like the night sky above. As chaos swirled around them, one question hung thick in the air, crashing over Michael like a wave. What had he unleashed? As the sirens drew nearer, a new storm whispered promises of horror yet to come, and he realized this wasn't just a night. As Michael's heart raced, the world around him collapsed into a whirlwind of chaos. The man's words echoed in his ears. "I know you!" They churned in his mind, a storm of recognition tearing through his thoughts. Michael leaned closer, desperate to understand, to grasp the connection that had been lurking just beneath the surface. But the frantic voice of the crowd pulled him back. Sirens wailed louder, now almost upon them, and the electric atmosphere surged with a rising tide of panic. The woman in the coat was still there, her eyes locked onto him. But her urgency pressed through the chaos as she yelled, "Michael, you have to leave, now!" "Why?" Michael managed to choke out, his gaze darting between Ava and Daniel. "What's happening?" Before she could answer, Daniel coughed again, his breath rasping and shallow. Ava stroked his hair, tears mixing with the rain on her cheeks. "Please stay with me, please," she begged. In that moment, the chaos fell silent, as if time itself had paused. Michael was about to step closer, when a loud bang echoed, one that cut through the stillness like a knife. It wasn't a gunshot, but a distant explosion, followed by the unmistakable crack of glass shattering. The ground shook, sending tremors through the crowd. People screamed, and the world erupted into a frenzy of movement and confusion. Michael stumbled backward, fear gripping his chest, and that's when he heard it. A voice, familiar and taunting, cutting through the noise. "Did you really think you could escape your past, Michael?" He turned, and there stood Marcus, the last person he expected to see here, drenched and wild-eyed, framed by flickering streetlights, like a specter from his worst nightmares. Marcus, the man he had betrayed years ago, the one whose secrets had come to haunt him. "What are you doing here?" Michael's voice trembled, tears of anger and disbelief clouding his vision. "Just delivering a message." Marcus sneered, stepping closer, the storm swirling behind him in a dark halo. "You wanted to play with the big boys, but you forgot. The game never ends, and neither do the consequences." That's when Michael realized the connection he felt to the man on the ground wasn't just an echo of shadows. Ava's desperate cries echoed in the air, wrapping around him like a vice. Daniel was tied to Marcus, tangled in a web of illicit deals and deadly sins that unfolded like the rain-soaked pavement before him. "No!" Ava shouted, pulling Daniel closer. "You stay away from him!" But before anyone could respond, there was another roar, louder this time. A black SUV barreled down the street, tires screeching as it skidded to a halt. Doors flung open, revealing figures clad in black, faces obscured by shadows. The urgency in their movements was terrifying, like predatory animals unleashed upon a vulnerable target. And as if time folded in on itself, Michael's world shattered once more. One of the figures stepped forward, and in that instant, he felt the air leave his lungs. It was a face he'd never expected to see again. His brother, Liam, a man he thought long lost in the underbelly of the city. "What are you doing here?" Michael's voice cracked, fear slicing through his heart. "It's time to make things right," Liam said, a sudden seriousness washing over his features. "But not all of us will survive this night." The crowd shrank back, whispers rising like smoke. A surge of panic gripped Michael. He could feel the storm inside him brewing, the past clamoring to be faced. What truth had he buried? And why did this night feel like the climax of all his nightmares? Desperation clawed at him, the stakes rising with each heartbeat. One question pulsated through his mind, louder than the chaos. Could the storm break him? Or would it finally expose the truth he tried so hard to hide? As the sirens closed in and tensions escalated, he knew this night was far from over. The reckoning had only just begun. As Michael stepped closer, the world around him faded. The chaos of the city, the rain-soaked streets, the murmurs from onlookers, it all blurred into the background. Ava felt like a beacon, drawing him in, illuminating shadows that threatened to engulf him. But just as he reached for her, an ear-piercing scream shattered the air, a sound laced with raw fear. The crowd jerked back, eyes widening as they turned toward the source. A young girl, no older than 8, stumbled out of an alley, drenched and trembling. Her shoes were missing, her clothes hanging off her like wet rags. She looked lost and frightened, eyes darting. "Help, please," she pleaded, voice cracking, choking on panic. Ava darted forward like a flash, instinctively wrapping the girl in her arms. "It's okay. You're safe with me. Where's your family?" Her voice was soothing, but Michael could see the urgency in her eyes. The girl shook her head. "I can't find them. I can't." In that moment, as the crowd murmured questions, confusion bubbling between clinks of raindrops, everything changed. Michael's heart raced, not just for the girl, but for Ava. There was something deeply familiar in the way she held the child, a resemblance that sent a chill down his spine. Panic welled within him, tightening his throat. Just then, a gruff voice echoed through the crowd, a voice Michael knew too well. Out stepped a man in a dark coat. "There you are!" The man's eyes were stormy. They'd seen too much. "We need to go, now!" It was Omar, Ava's father. Michael's jaw dropped. Everything he thought he knew cracked open. Ava had run away? From this man? And why was she hiding? What secrets tied them together? The crowd seemed to hold its breath, watching the unfolding scene like it was a long-awaited movie. Ava's grip faltered, anguish cutting across her face. "Dad, no, Don't," he barked, arms outstretched toward her like a storm cloud, threatening to unleash a tempest. Before anyone could react, The girl slipped further into Ava's embrace, squeezing her eyes shut as if she recognized the danger. The tension in the air thickened, weighted by unspoken words. Michael felt the ground shift beneath him, a once familiar solidness eroding into uncertainty. He could see the heartache in Ava's eyes, the turmoil, and in that moment, he couldn't look away. But he also saw the truth threatening to spill out. Why had she run? Who had chased her? Suddenly, a crack of thunder split the sky, sending a jolt through everyone. Then, chaos erupted. Omar lunged forward, hands tight and shaking. "You can't protect her!" he yelled, the rain soaking his words, mixing pain with rage. The crowd surged, breaths quickening. Michael felt a fire ignite in him, a rush of instinct. He stepped into the fray, heart pounding. Wait! But it was too late. A scuffle broke out, fierce and frenzied. Rain turned to torrents, each drop like a slap, mingling with the tumult of emotions. Something urgent gripped Michael's gut. This was bigger than a mere connection with Ava. This was a storm about to explode. Did she run away for a reason? What ties connected these two? As fists flew and shouts echoed, he realized he was standing not just on the fringes of a street corner, but at the crossroads of Ava's darkest secrets and his own fractured soul. What was waiting to unravel? Would he have the strength to face the truth that loomed ahead? And in the chaos, could he still find a way to reach Ava before everything fell apart? Michael took a step closer, heart racing, breath caught, as he tried to make sense of the wild scene unfolding before him. The air was filled with a tension that felt almost electric. Ava stood there, a flicker of something fierce and untamed lighting up her eyes. The crowd was both intrigued and disturbed, and whispers rushed through them like a tornado. Just as Michael began to bridge the distance, a commotion erupted. A sharp cry, a scream, pierced the stormy night. It came from behind him. He whipped around, a wave of dread washing over him. A figure stumbled into view, drenched in rain, face twisted in horror. It was a man, disheveled, eyes wild, searching the crowd. "Help! Someone help!" he shouted, his voice cracking like glass. The words hung in the air, fragile yet commanding. The crowd froze. Even Trump and Musk, who had been mere spectators in this drama, leaned in, curiosity shifting rapidly to concern. Michael felt heat rush to his cheeks, heart pounding louder. Why did this stranger seem so frantic, so terrified? Then, as if magnetized, the man's gaze collided with Ava's. A recognition, instant yet uneasy. "Ava!" He surged forward, breaking past the crowd, desperation fueling his movements. Michael's stomach dropped. Who was this guy? And why was he calling her name like a lifeline? "No!" Ava gasped, but her voice was drowned out by the rain. The man reached for her, madness in every movement, eyes wide and glistening like storm-tossed stars. A sudden frenzy erupted. Michael's instincts kicked in. He stepped in front of Ava, blocking the man who was now screaming. "Get away from her!" he shouted, anger surging through him, mingling with an instinct to protect. The air crackled with tension, the crowd retreating, hearts racing as they anticipated chaos. But in that moment, something shocking happened. The man fell to his knees, hands clawing at the ground, tears streaming down his face. "You have to believe me. They're coming. They know you're here." The crowd gasped, a collective intake of breath, whispers rising like a chilling wind. Michael's heart raced faster. Who were they? What was he talking about? Ava stepped back, fear flashing in her eyes, while confusion spread across Michael's face. "What do you mean? Who's coming?" she pressed, searching for answers, her voice trembling. The man's reply was a frantic murmur. "They know everything, Ava. Your father. He's not who you think he is." Michael flinched. The words cut through him like lightning. Everything around him blurred. The glistening streets, the murmurs of the crowd, they faded into nothing. Who was Ava really? What secrets lay buried beneath her stormy soul? Suddenly, the world felt heavy. Questions crashed like waves in his mind. Michael's heart raced with confusion and fear. This wasn't just a chance encounter. This was something deeper, darker. The connection between him and Ava was about to be tested in ways he couldn't grasp. Was she the stormbreaker he thought she was? Or the eye of a tempest he was unprepared for? As the rain poured down, washing away the night, Michael felt the ground shift beneath him. The future was no longer just a path to be walked. It was a cliff ready to crumble, and shock coursed through him as Ava took a step back, her expression unreadable, caught between her past and an uncertain future. What truth awaited them in the storm? As Michael stepped toward the strangers, the crowd parted silently. Whispers rolled like thunder. Who is she? What's her story? That woman, she's trouble. But trouble wasn't something Michael could shy away from anymore. Not when the night had cracked open, revealing a path he never saw coming. Ava turned to him, her eyes glimmering with something unspoken. Just as he opened his mouth to ask, the air shifted again. A sudden shout pierced the rain-soaked night. "No, stop!" It was a voice wrecked with urgency, cutting through the tension. Michael spun around. A figure stumbled from the shadows, drenched, clothes clinging to skin like a second layer. The whole crowd froze. It was a man, the same homeless man Michael had just helped. But now he was anything but quiet. "You don't know what you're doing!" he cried, voice hoarse and desperate. The rain laughed at them all, bouncing off pavement and soaking disbelief. The homeless man's eyes were wild, glancing toward the crowd. "Get away from her! You won't take her!" Ava's face shifted from fascination to fear. Michael felt his heart race, pumping urgency through his veins. "What are you talking about?" he shouted back. But deep down, dread curled around his gut. Suddenly, a dark van screeched to a halt nearby, tires screaming against the wet asphalt. The crowd gasped. Two large figures jumped out, cloaked in black, faces hidden. "Get in!" they barked toward Ava, their tone like ice. As if on cue, chaos erupted. The crowd recoiled, shocked faces turning toward the scene. Michael's mind spun. Who were they? And why did they want Ava? "No!" shouted the homeless man, charging forward with a surprising burst of energy. Unsteady on his feet, but fueled by something deeper, fear, love, rage. It didn't matter. He reached for Ava, panic pushing him forward. With a swift motion, one of the men from the van shoved the homeless man away. He stumbled back, arms flailing, a fallen warrior beneath the oppressive rain. "You're not safe with them," he shouted, voice cracking. But it was lost in the chaos. Ava's expression was one of pure horror. She stepped backward, lost between two worlds, the warmth of Michael's brief connection and the shadowy figures threatening to pull her back into the night. "Please, what's going on?" But before anyone could react, the man reached into his pocket and produced something small and silver. A glint of cold metal caught the crowd's attention. "You think you can hide from us?" he yelled, the weight of desperation pulling his tone lower. "You don't know what she is. You don't know what she can do." The words hit Michael like a punch. Ava? Special? This night was spiraling into a nightmare he never saw coming. Then it happened. A blinding flash exploded in the midst of the crowd. A firework of noise and light erupted, drowning out the rain and turning the world to chaos. For a split second, nothing made sense. People screamed, animals cried out, and then the darkness surged like a tide. When the light faded, he blinked through the fog, heart racing, searching. In the aftermath, the homeless man was gone. Ava, too. And those figures in black, point, dot, vanished like ghosts. Only the whispers remained, lingering around him, the crowd dispersing, leaving Michael standing alone amid swirling shadows. His mind reeled. What just happened? Who was Ava really? What was her connection to the homeless man? Questions looped in his head as he stood there, drenched and trembling, in a night that started with rain. Everything he thought he knew was swept away in confusion, and deep down he felt it. A new storm brewing, a challenge ahead, one he was curious to explore but utterly scared to face. Michael stood alone in the downpour, chaos swirling around him. The empty spot where Ava had been felt like a chasm, a void in the storm's fury. Rain streamed down his face, mixing with the confusion in his heart. He caught glimpses of the crowd parting, leaving him gazing at deserted streets, each puddle reflecting the flickering lights above. What just happened? He whispered to himself, shaking, trying to piece together the fragments of reality. Where had the man gone? Where was Ava? The pieces of the night felt disturbingly scattered, and the echoes of her name hung in the air like smoke. Then everything shifted. A high-pitched sound sliced through the chaos, sharp and jarring. The hair on his arms stood on end, every instinct screaming at him to run. But he couldn't move. He was rooted, caught in the haunting memories of what just transpired. Suddenly, from behind him, he heard hurried footsteps. He turned, and a figure burst through the fog of rain. It was Daniel, the man from the wreckage, staggering toward him. Blood still dripped from his hands, painting the pavement with a grotesque, vibrant red. "Michael!" Daniel's voice was ragged, desperation cracking through the tone. "Daniel, what are you doing here? You shouldn't be." But Michael's words were cut off as Daniel lunged forward, eyes dark and wild. "Listen to me. It's not what you think. Ava isn't just a girl. She's an heir. Michael blinked. An heir? What are you talking about? Confusion knotted his stomach. But Daniel didn't wait for an answer. He stumbled closer, panic threading through every word. They're after her! They have to cut the bloodline. You don't understand. It's a power play. A chill crept up Michael's spine. What power? Who? Before Daniel could respond, a shadow loomed behind him, dark and imposing. The figure stepped into the light. A woman, standing tall, every inch of her radiating authority. It was Ava's father, Omar. His eyes glinted like shattered glass, fury intertwining with fear on his face. "What are you doing?" he barked, voice sharp as the crack of thunder above. Daniel turned slowly, recognizing the threat. And just as the tension reached a breaking point, a gunshot echoed, splitting the air. A lightning strike that froze all movement. Omar fell, a look of shock etched onto his face, eyes wide as the life slipped away. The crowd gasped, collective shock rippling through them like a wave of ice. Michael's entire world tilted. "No!" Michael cried, a scream tearing through him. He rushed forward, fear pulsing in every vein. But the sight before him was surreal. Omar's body crumpled against the pavement. In the chaos, another figure emerged from a shadowed alley. The homeless man. Michael could hardly breathe as the man lifted the weapon, a trembling hand still poised in the air. "I had to do it, for her sake," he said, his voice thick with heavy realization. The pieces fell into place, crumbling structures of trust and reality. Ava's father was part of a scheme, a power war intertwined with corruption. And that homeless man had been protecting her all along? Treading through the chaos of emotions, Michael's heart pounded. He couldn't understand the depths of betrayal now surfacing, the ties between them tangled like vines. And then everything shifted yet again. The shadowy figures returned, eyes reflecting malice, stepping closer. The game was shifting, stakes rising with Michael caught unprepared. Confused and terrified, he realized this was more than a night gone wrong. It was a reckoning. This wasn't just about him anymore. Lives were hanging in the balance. What did Ava know? What darkness had she inherited? The storm raged on, and Michael felt the weight of the answers looming ahead, threatening to erase everything he thought he knew. The truth danced on the edge of a knife, waiting to plunge them all into chaos. Would he grasp it, or be left to drown in the storm? As Michael stood there, heart racing and confusion gripping his gut, he felt the world spinning around him. Daniel's words echoed, heavy with urgency. The rain fell in sheets, drenching everything in a cold mist, tightening the grip of fear on his chest. Then, out of nowhere, a piercing scream cut through the chaos. It wasn't just a yell. It was primal and filled with pure terror. The crowd turned as one, startled, eyes darting to the dark alley from where the sound erupted. From the shadows, another figure emerged, hunched over, dragging something behind him. The rain glistened off the figure's skin, revealing a face twisted in fear, desperation pouring out like the rain itself. It was Marcus, the very man Michael had crossed paths with just moments ago, the embodiment of his past. "Michael!" Marcus cried, voice quaking. "Get back! They—" But before he could finish, the crowd gasped again. From the alley behind Marcus, more figures appeared. An eerie line of shadows, advancing swiftly, each cloaked in darkness. They moved almost silently, like serpents slithering through the rain, intent on their prey. "Please, you have to believe me," Marcus shouted, panic surging in his words. But the urgency twisted, becoming something darker. "This isn't just about Ava. They're after you too." "What do you mean?" Michael shouted back, feeling the weight of those words thud against his chest. He didn't have time to react before the leading figure lunged forward. It was a flash, a glint of metal, a knife, sharp and lethal. In one decisive movement, it sliced through the air, aimed right at Marcus. "No!" Michael yelled, instinct driving him forward. Time slowed, heart leaping into his throat as he lunged between them, hands flailing in a desperate bid to protect. But even as he moved, the knife found its mark. Pain erupted in Michael's side, a fiery jolt that brought him to his knees beneath the sudden rush of blinded shock. The world spun, the rain mixing with blood seeping through his fingers, and then silence, punctuated only by the distant sirens that seemed to fade into a ghostly echo. "Michael!" Ava's voice sliced through the haze, a lifeline pulling him back. He blinked, finding her, eyes wide with horror. But confusion swirled in her gaze, reflections of darkness unmasking themselves around the edges. And that's when Michael saw it. Her father, Omar, rising weakly in the background, millions of secrets swirling behind his eyes. "You don't know what she is. What they'll do," Omar shouted, desperation twisting his voice. Everything collided. Michael gasped, breath hitching, confusion clawing at him. "What do you mean?" he croaked out, but it felt like sand slipping through his fingers. "Stop!" Ava shouted, rushing to Michael's side, panic igniting as she pressed her hands against the wound. "Stay with me, please!" Her voice was a torrent, filled with urgency, tearing at the fabric of reality as confusion knitted tighter around them. Suddenly, Marcus stood up straighter, a strange look in his eyes. "It's her, isn't it?" he said, voice steadying. "She's the key to everything." Ava's face paled, icy realization washing over her. "What are you talking about?" Before anyone could respond, one of the cloaked figures stepped forward, revealing a haunting face etched in shadows, a past Michael had buried deep. "We've been waiting for this moment," the figure said. "You can't escape your fate." The cavernous weight of those words sank like an anchor, dragging them all into an abyss of uncertainty and dark connections. And in that instant, everything Michael thought he knew about the night, about Ava, shattered into pieces. Who was Ava really? What legacy had been hidden from him? The storm raged on as questions loomed larger, unraveling the very threads of trust and reality. And as darkness closed in around them, Michael realized his fight for survival had only just begun. Everything was about to change forever. The sound of the sirens pierced through the damp air as chaos reigned. Michael lay on the ground, heart racing, warm blood seeping through his fingers. Ava's panicked voice broke through the haze, and he forced his eyes to focus on her. She hovered over him, tears streaming, a mix of fear and determination painting her features. "Stay with me, Michael, please." Her hands pressed against his wound, but the pain was a storm, wild and unyielding. He could see her shaking, her own fears reflected in those deep, searching eyes. Why is this happening?" he rasped, breath catching in his throat. He felt himself drifting, the rain washing over him like a suffocating blanket. "You need to trust me," Ava shouted, her voice rising above the chaos. "We have to stop them. You can't." But before she could finish, loud footsteps echoed, and Marcus stumbled beside them, dazed but alive. "I didn't mean to hurt you." He looked at Michael, then at Ava, panic swirling in his eyes. "They're coming to finish what they started." The figures in black were regrouping, their shadows looming larger, intent on seizing the moment. Michael's heart sank at the realization. The stakes were higher than anyone anticipated. "We don't have much time," Michael growled, forcing himself to focus, his life tethered through Ava's urgency. "You know something. You have to tell us everything." Ava swallowed hard, fear gripping her heart like a vice. "My father, he's been part of something bigger. I thought I could escape it." But the rain fell heavier, drowning out the tension swirling amongst them. She looked down, breath hitching. "He's connected to them, to the secrets, to all of it." Just then, a loud noise erupted, a blast of thunder that seemed to echo their reality. Michael struggled against the pouring rain, clarity cutting through the pain. "You're the key. What is it?" Ava's eyes locked onto his, fear mixing with the fierce need to protect him. "I have to find the truth about my family, about what they want from us. We can't let them take you too." "Then show me," he urged, grounding himself in her gaze. The bond they had formed now stretched into an unbreakable connection. "But we have to go, now." In a swift motion, she nodded, the fire lighting up her eyes. "Together, we'll end this." As Marcus helped Michael to his feet, the figures in black begin to advance, faces emerging from shadows, intent on reclaiming their power. Oh! This was it. The last stand against the chaos threatening to consume them. "Get down!" Ava screamed as the first of the figures lunged forward. A flurry of movement erupted around them, the world a blur of shouts, confusion, and pounding rain. But the moment felt electric, and Michael, fueled by urgency, turned to Ava. "No more running. Let's fight!" As they squared their shoulders, the crowd behind them surged into action, emboldened, ready to stand, united. There was a glimmer of hope amidst the storm. As the figures closed in, a bright flash illuminated the night, a signal of chaos colliding with purpose. Right in that heartbeat, they pushed forward, armed with ferocity and the strength of their bonds. Michael could feel the weight of the world on his shoulders, but in the heat of that moment, every doubt slipped away. Pain, fear, and uncertainty blended into something primal, something alive. And as the rain poured down, they crested the edge of the coming storm, ready to face whatever lay ahead. Don't wait even a second longer. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss out on the exclusive stories that are coming next. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm. Flood the comments section with your reactions, theories, and what you think will happen next. And you have to share this video instantly with at least 5 friends who need to see this ending. This is the moment to show your support. Be a true fan and let's keep the story alive.